A codeshare agreement, sometimes simply codeshare, is an aviation business arrangement where two or more airlines share the same flight. A seat can be purchased on each airline's designator and flight number, but is actually operated by only one of these cooperating airlines, commonly called the operating carrier or more precisely, administrating carrier. The term code refers to the identifier used in flight schedule, generally the two-character IATA airline designator code and flight number. Thus, 2123 might also be sold by Airline YY as YY456 and by ZZ as ZZ9876. Airlines YY and ZZ are in this case called marketing airlines. Most of the major airlines today have code-sharing partnerships with other airlines, and code-sharing is a key feature of the major airline alliances. Typically, code-sharing agreements are also a part of the commercial agreements between airlines in the same airline alliances. Under a code-sharing agreement, the airline that administrates the flight is commonly called the operating carrier, often abbreviated MKT CXR, even though THSIATASSIN term administrating carrier is actually more precise. The reason for this is that a third carrier is actually involved, typically in the case that the airline originally planning to operate the flight needs to hire a subcontractor to operate the flight on their behalf. In this case, the airline actually carrying the passenger should be designated the operating carrier, since it is the one actually carrying the passenger's cargo. When a flight is sold under several designators and flight numbers as described above, the one published by the administrating carrier is commonly called a prime flight. Several types of codeshare exist, commonly three types: block space codeshare. A commercial airline purchases a fixed number of seats from the administrating carrier. A fixed price is typically paid, and the seats are kept away from the administrating carrier's own inventory. The marketing airline decides on their own which booking classes the seats are sold in. Free-flow codeshare, the airline's inventory and reservation systems communicate in real time by messaging, commonly IATA or MPADIS messaging. A booking class mapping is defined between the airlines. No seats are locked to any of the airlines, and any airline can sell any number of seats. Capped free flow, basically the same as above, but a capping are defined for each of the marketing airlines participating in the codeshare with the administrating carrier. History: in 1967, Richard A. Henson joined with U.S. Airways' predecessor, Allegheny Airlines, in the nation's first codeshare relationship. The term code-sharing, or codeshare, was coined in 1989 by Qantas and American Airlines, and in 1990 the two firms provided their first codeshare flights between an array of Australian cities and U.S. domestic cities. Code-sharing has become widespread in the airline industry since that time, particularly in the wake of the formation of large airline alliances. These alliances have extensive code-sharing and networked frequent flyer programs. Reasons and advantages: under a code-sharing agreement, participating airlines can present a common flight number for several reasons, including, for passengers, connecting flights. This provides clearer routing for the customer, allowing a customer to book travel from point A to C through point B under one carrier's code, instead of a customer booking from point A to B under one code, and from point B to C under another code. This is not only a superficial addition, as cooperating airlines also strive to synchronize their schedules and coordinate luggage handling, which makes transfers between connecting flights less time-consuming. Shared responsibility between the carriers: when flying between two cities without a single airline connection, the passenger can pick a code-shared flight over two airlines or two flights booked separately. If the flights are not code-shared, then the second airline has no responsibility if the passenger or luggage misses the second flight due to a delay with the first. Under a code-shared flight, the second airline is unlikely to charge extra fees or deny boarding should the first, cooperating airline cause a delay. For airlines, flights from both airlines that fly the same route, this provides an apparent increase in the frequency of service on the route by one airline. Perceived service to unserviced markets: this provides a method for carriers who do not operate their own aircraft on a given route to gain exposure in the market through display of their flight numbers. When an airline sacrifices its capacity to other airlines as a code-share partner, its operational cost will generally be reduced to nil. Competitive concerns. Much competition in the airline industry revolves around ticket sales strategies. Criticism has been leveled against code sharing by consumer organizations and national departments of trade since it is claimed it is confusing and not transparent to passengers. Air rail alliances. There are also code-sharing agreements between airlines and rail lines. These are more formally known as an air rail alliance, but more commonly known as Rail and Fly due to the popularity of the Deutsche Bahn code-share with many airlines. They involve some integration of both types of transport, for example, in finding out the fastest connection, allowing exchange between an air ticket and a train ticket, or a step further, the air ticket being valid on the train, etc. In Europe, these air rail alliances are used to divide markets by selling these combination tickets abroad for a lower price to attract more customers. The systems also prevent local customers from buying these much cheaper tickets as the customer is only allowed to board the plane with a valid train stamp from a station outside the country. See also: interlining, change of gauge. References. External links: Snyder, Brett. This isn't the airline I signed up for. CNN. July 11, 2011. Article on prospect of code sharing between North American rail and airline connections.